Hello. So I thought I'd do another update. We had some bugs in the last video just because I was working on them at the time. I've resolved most of those, and there's a few new things. And one of them is that I have embedded those windows into the editor. So rather than having floating windows for, say, the content, it will show up here on the sidebar. Now, the code barely changed for this. It just was, instead of opening in a window, it opens up here, and then I changed the width of the HTML and CSS for that. There's a hotkey. You can press C to open up the content. You can press H to open up the hierarchy. You can open up the log with L. And so all those three windows are now put directly in here. The other new thing is we have two little doodads down here. We have the status message, which is just a generic message that is sent by the system just to tell you things are happening. And then you have the latest log. And if you click on that, it'll open up the log window. So I can actually show you if I do like log info for a test log, it'll pop up there and it does the coloring. So log warn will be yellow and log error will be an error message that show up in here. So some of the other things that I started working on was the compilation. So when you have, say, when you have a setup here, I have the hierarchy. The hierarchy popped up automatically because it changed. So I'm probably gonna make it so it doesn't pop up automatically there, and only when you show it. But now you can say, like, if I put in some objects in here, the compilation part of the project is mostly set up. I have some trickery right now that I'm going to be cleaning up over the next day or so. But you can press F5 and you'll see that it's compiling the code and it's going through and it's launching the project. And there's your monkey and your. This is actually running from your project itself, and this is the compiled code, and this is with debug symbols, so you can attach a debugger to it, or you can run it directly from inside your Visual Studio Code source code. Um, Visual Studio Code source. You can run it straight from inside of there, and so this is a debug build, and there's just a Boolean flag to turn it from debug to release. And when it's released, it just strips all the symbols and then removes debug code. Debug code has a debug tag assigned to it so that when the Go code compiles, we can have special things in here for, say, if I want to open up, if I have a particular map open, when the game launches, it can go straight into that map rather than you having to go from the top flow. Whereas in release mode, it would just go from the entry point of the game down. So debug allows us to do that. And I'm working on piping the logs and everything straight from that over to the editor. So all that as a separate instance, and it'll become a little bit more integrated as we go. So those are kind of the major things that have changed as far as kind of the window placement and everything. And then there's a bunch of minor things, a bunch of minor bug fixes and that sort of thing. So for example, now the hierarchy updates as I create some stuff. So if I created a cube here alongside my monkey, you'll see the cube shows up inside the hierarchy correctly. You can shift select inside of the hierarchy. You can control select to toggle selection, just as you can do here. And the status message, for example, if I take this cube and I parent it to the monkey with Control P, you'll see parented entities popped up here, and you'll see that the tabbing updated here. So let me just move those back, and I can create another cube, and we can take this cube and parent it to this cube. So Control P, you'll see that that cube is now we have 3 deep in our little tabbing order here. And I haven't tested this, so I'm going to take a risk here. And that was weird. I'll have to look at whatever that was. Let's create another cube. And this one will parent to this one as well. Yeah, so now they're next to each other here. And if you take something and you parent it to nothing, you just control P by itself, it parents it to the root. So that's how you can unparent it. But let's take these guys and parent them, and then if we move this one, it should move all of them. Yeah. So I think that this wire should be in the middle of them. It's just not finding the centroid correctly right now. That should be easy. Let's go into like the first child or something. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the major things. The compiler is the biggest one, where we can. Oh, you'll see that there's a little number here, and that's because um, as I continue to parent, it's going to increase the number just so that you know something has happened. If it's the same message, it'll put the number here. Just so you, because for example, if I don't have the hierarchy open, I mean, it's going to open because that bug we just talked about. But if I didn't have that open and I parented these, you wouldn't really notice anything happened. So that's what the little number increment there is for. So other than that, there's just a bunch of minor bug fixes. Most nobody cares about. Just making things work correctly and visually show up right. So my primary goals for right now is that I'm going to focus on getting this compiler set up. Of course, I'm going to fix a couple of the bugs that we just saw, the visual stuff like the hierarchy popping open anytime I change the hierarchy at all. It pops up. I don't want that. Um, and the little wire bug. So I'm going to fix those little things. That's all minutia. But I'm going to focus more on the compiler right now so that it's compiling. And this does use, so I don't know if I mentioned it before, but we have our own custom Go compiler for our engine, and this is for performance stuff. And it also exposes. Most devs don't care about this, but it also exposes malloc, alloc, or calloc and free, so we can directly manage memory ourselves within Go without having to go through the garbage collector. So we have those added. They're not even really used now because we've exposed Go 1.23's feature called no escape for CGO, which gets rid of all the escaping in CGO and improves the CGO performance by 20%. So we'll be shipping with our own compiler. It'll be part of the release build, and you can pull it straight from GitHub and build it the same as everything else. There's notes on how to do that inside of the documentation. So that Go compiler is being used to compile our game code, of course, and the game code is set up and is set up with all the environment variables and everything else to kind of be ready to go, and it's almost analogous to the editor itself. So I'm going to be coding up more of the gameplay stuff so that when I run it, I can launch into maps correctly, and I can strip out code or add in code and add in login code. So as logs come into the runtime, they'll show up here in the editor. So I'm going to be getting that integration going. After that primary integration with the game is done, after that primary integration is done with the game is done, after the primary integration with the game is done, I'm going to work more on some physics engine stuff. I have the start of a collision system set up. BVHs are pretty simple to write. I'm going to basically be setting up a lot of that kind of collision and physicsy stuff. But for the most part, people who don't need physics or collision, I'd like for them to be able to like play around and make sample projects just straight off of that. Some other things that I need to work on is I still haven't ported my PBR shaders that I've done previously in my PBR pipelines. Those will be ported at some point. Thank you for being patient with me on that. I know they look pretty, but I feel like a lot of this other stuff needs to get into place first. Just dropping in that should be easy enough. Then I'll be working on cameras, lights, those sorts of things, the nice visuals things. So expect a steady stream of new things over the next couple of weeks. I, I I basically work every morning for quite a few hours, and I think progress is going pretty good. So let me know if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts, feedback, any suggestions on how to improve things. Um, Currently, I have no interest. Right now, it's kind of bottom of the list to be able to um, pop out these editors as separate windows. They were already that. Maybe I'll make a hotkey to do it or something, but it's I'm going to keep them in here. For the most part, there are still going to be pop-up windows for editing templates, which are basically blueprints, which are basically prefabs, and that sort of stuff. So there still will be some pop-ups and things like that. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching.